The following is the Fatal 4-Way Podcast, and it is scheduled for one fall.
Welcome into the Fatal 4-Way, everybody. We have a jam-packed show after the results of WWE Bad Blood last Saturday, where we had a phenomenal Hell in a Cell match and a fantastic tag team match in the main event with a outstanding, electric return there at the very end. So let's just get right into this. Let's start talking about what happened here at Bad Blood with the very first match of the night. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre inside Hell in the Cell. Let's hear some thoughts on this one. Rippe, what did you think about it?
I mean, they promised us blood, and we got a fair share of blood. Both athletes, both wrestlers were just drenched, getting blood all over the mat, all over each other. It was very exciting, and they brought all the tools out for this one. They had the toolbox, the hammers, the wrenches, the tables, all of that. I thought they were bringing out some thumbtacks for a second, but that was just CM Punk's little bracelet that, Drew used to taunt CM Punk with. But I thought that was an amazing match. I really liked the way it ended. I did get my prediction wrong. I was the only one that said Drew, but we'll wear that one. But I was very entertained, and the exits too. Like, you could see how much that match meant to both of them. Drew in tears in the ring as CM Punk was walking out, and CM Punk needing to get oxygen as he's walking out, and barely being able to stand in front of the fans. I just thought it was absolutely electric, and I had a fantastic time watching it. I think one of the best Hell in a Cell matches I've seen personally.
I'm butting in there because I think it's the second best Hell in a Cell match that I've ever seen, behind Triple H versus The Undertaker, WrestleMania 2012. That might come off as a hot take, because obviously you have Seth and Cody, and whatever else along those lines. There's a lot of great Hell in a Cell matches out there, but this one was just genuinely that good. And as a big CM Punk guy myself, it's kind of cool to see him proving everyone wrong, including myself, about his in-ring abilities. And now in this match, he delivered. I don't know exactly how long the match was, but it seemed like 30-plus minutes, and he proved that he could deliver in longer-form matches. This, to me, is a top 5 match of the year candidate, at least for WWE, NXT. I would put this match pretty definitively in my top 5, and it's really the perfect way to sort of pay off this entire feud.
Yeah, this match was unbelievable. Some of the spots in this match, the one that stood out to me the most, Drew McIntyre had CM Punk on his shoulders on the outside and lawn darted him full speed, head first in the cage. I'm just looking at that. I'm like, Punk, you're too old to be taking that move, but he was fine. And
was
to
he?
everyone, he was fine as in he was not injured.
Right.
But to everyone who thought CM Punk was washed and that CM Punk wasn't worth it for WWE to go sign him and bring him back, and this run was going to be a stain on his legacy, you must be feeling very silly right now, because CM Punk went out there and proved why he is called the best in the world. What a match. If top 2 Hell in a Cell match, my take, this might be the best opening match on a pay-per-view of all time, period. I can't think of a match that opened a show that's better than this one. Maybe Bret Hart versus Owen Hart at WrestleMania 10. What else?
It's hard to kind of like pick and choose, because there's been so many opening matches, but I don't necessarily hate the take. Do we want to do star ratings now that I think of it? Because this might be a 5.
I'm giving it a 5 easily.
Yeah, I would absolutely give this match a 5. I mean, like you said, it is my favorite Hell in a Cell match since the end of an era match at WrestleMania 28. But, I mean, that match for me is my favorite match of all time. But this match was absolutely spectacular. Like, the spot, a Hell in a Cell match hasn't made me, like, physically cringe and, like, feel a certain type of way or feel pain for a person in a long time. And when, in that finishing spot, when Drew McIntyre went for the Claymore and Punk moved out of the way,
wow,
and Drew just back straight on the corner of the steel steps, I actually, like, gasped out loud. I could not believe what I had just seen. They looked so painful, but overall the match was just amazing. Like, it was fantastic and easily a 5-star match in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this match really, they've been getting closer and closer to it with like Seth and Cody, Edge and Seth back at Crown Jewel a few years ago.
Yeah.
This for me dawns the official return of Hell in a Cell. WWE remembered how to book it, what it's for, when to use it. It was perfect. Triple H, he was I'm not the creator of Hell in a Cell, but he was a pioneer of Hell in a Cell, and now that he's at the helm, Hell in a Cell is back and better than ever.
And I think that this was the perfect match to get the old Hell in a Cell back to the way it was, because these two hated each other, still probably do hate each other, and what better way to settle that dispute than in Hell in a Cell with both blood everywhere, and the amount that they talked about, like, just how they want to make each other bleed, and Drew's face when he first cut CM Punk open by driving his head into the fence was just a really cool moment.
Or the toolbox smash was nasty.
Was brutal too. Oh my goodness.
Unprotected. No hands up on that one.
I'm just going to say real quick, I know no one actually cares anymore because it's not reputable, but if Dave Meltzer doesn't give this 5 stars, I don't know what we're doing here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Cody and Seth got 5 from Dave
And
2
if-
years ago, so this one was better than that one. So if this one doesn't, it's a CM Punk agenda.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Dave, you're dead to the show if you don't give this 5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, again, that match was just one more spot that almost made me like lose my mind was when Drew McIntyre ripped the legs off that one table. There was just a little pole dangling off of it, and then Punk went to jam
Literally
Punk's
stabbed
face
him with it.
and nearly poked a hole in Drew McIntyre's head, and I got scared at that one. I actually thought we were going to see something terrible happen
Literally
in
a
that
couple
match.
inches to the left and he would have died.
Yes, it was just absolutely like it is what a Hell in a Cell match was meant to be. Forget what Fiend and Seth Rollins did. Erase everything from the past. This is what a Hell in a Cell match should be. It was amazing.
Cinema.
Absolutely incredible.
The next match on the card was the WWE Women's Championship match between Nia Jax and Bayley. What did you guys think about this one?
I mean, you're in a tough spot when you're following that match, whoever it is. But I do think this was one of the less impressive and less fun matches of the evening. Not to say that it was bad and didn't have story to it. It just they didn't really, drive that story to begin with before Bad Blood too much, other than the Money in the Bank possibility of Tiffany cashing in. Was she not? Which I think they built that story well after Bad Blood, but I wasn't too impressed by this match. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a cool match. I mean, the way that Nia Jax won was pretty cool. That spot, that Samoa drop onto just sitting on top of her, that was pretty cool. A cool way to end it.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is Nia Jax continues to get better and better. She's so much better on this run with WWE than her first run. And, like Rippe said, impossible to follow a 5-star Hell in a Cell match. But they did a good job. The Tiffy stuff was fine. Right person won, in my opinion. So, yeah, I give it a 2 3/4 star.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I'd say 2.5. I think there were a couple messy spots in this match too. I don't think it was the greatest quality-wise. I don't think it was the greatest at SummerSlam either when they fought initially. And I feel like it could have just flat out had this on SmackDown. Maybe give this match to, I don't know, the World Heavyweight Championship.
Or the ladder tag match on SmackDown.
Yes.
Sorry, interject quick. That match was fantastic.
It was amazing.
That's a 4.5 star match for me. But maybe put that on here, something along those lines, or even just switch up the opponent. Like I wouldn't have minded a Naomi or a Bianca or a Jade Cargill in this match, just to freshen things up a little bit.
They were too busy playing around with Metro Boomin, though, Justin.
Oh yeah, and we will get to that. But regardless, this was a fine match, not one I'm going to remember in 5 years, let alone 5 months, if that. So
5 weeks. 5
Yeah.
days.
genuinely,
Hey, but might I say, we all predicted that one correctly, so good job, everyone.
pat
Yes.
Well
myself
done,
on
well
the back. But yeah, 2.5 stars, nothing crazy.
Yeah, the match was fine. I didn't expect much going into it, and I mean, I guess I'd say it delivered on what I expected. Also, can we just get a rest in peace for Tiffy's Money in the Bank briefcase. It got broken off in the turnbuckle during that match. The strap she had on it just got ripped off halfway through. But I think it was fine. I just can't wait for the Tiffany Stratton cash in and get the title onto her. But yeah, like Justin said, probably a 2.5-star match out of 5 there. All right, and then the next match was in the storyline of the implosion of the Judgment Day. We had Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Rippy, start us off. What do we think about this one?
I thought it was okay. I've never been too into the Judgment Day storyline ever since the Terror Twins kind of left, got exiled out of it. I haven't been too tapped in. But I didn't think anyone was surprised when Damian Priest won. I know I wasn't really surprised. And that run-in with Judgment Day, I think that was pretty fun. I would give this one maybe like 2.5 stars, I'd say.
So I hate the fact that I was precisely correct in my prediction. I basically said Triple H has given up on this and Priest is just going to win and that's going to be the end of it. Yep. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Match itself up until the run-in, good. They're two great wrestlers, but the finish was bad. The choice who won was bad. So a little bit of a mixed bag. Overall, I'll give it 2 stars.
I'm going to give this like 1.7, genuinely. Like maybe even less than that. Little rant here. Finn Balor, my guy, incredibly disrespected. Obviously, we know what happened in 2016 and hasn't been the same since. And last year at this very time, it kind of seemed like he was finding his footing again within this storyline as it started to brew. And now it just seems like WWE, as you said, Luke, completely given up on not just the storyline, but also him. And I kind of just thought this be a match and also a feud that kind of puts Finn on that same pedestal as Priest. And having him lose the first match, it's kind of just like, I mean, where do you go from here? Like, I'm sure they'll have a second match and Finn will probably get a win at some point over Priest, but like, it just kind of puts a stain on this entire feud, especially if you're going to continue it. Like, what is the point? Because Priest has pretty much proved in every single promo or brawl or match he's had with any member of the Judgment Day that he is the guy and he's just genuinely above all of them. And I don't think that should be the case for a guy as talented as Finn Balor. I'll give it a 1.8. I'll give it a 0.1 increase, be a little nice because the match wasn't that bad, but I hated the finish.
Yeah, I also was not a big fan of this match because I am a big fan of Finn Balor, and I don't know what it is, but I just cannot get behind Damian Priest. I've never been able to. It's probably because he beat Sheamus at SummerSlam when I was there rooting for Sheamus, but I can't get behind Priest. They made him look like a monster. They've made him look so strong for the last however many months. They've made him look like a true superstar, but I'm just not a fan of his, and I really did want to see Finn Balor win this match and try and get himself back into being like a primetime player type of guy again and actually have quality matches where he's considered a threat, but no, he's just going to spam a couple coup de grace onto Priest, onto the back of his head, onto all these things, and then Priest is just going to counter with one choke slam and end the whole match. So I was not a fan of it. I'm giving it let me give it a 1.5 out of 5. Yeah, I'm just not invested in this Judgment Day storyline, which kind of is unfortunate because this next match is also a Judgment Day storyline, and I'm a little more invested in this one. But it was another women's championship match. This time it was Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan with Dominic Mysterio hanging up high in a shark cage. What do we think about this match?
I really enjoyed this match. It was honestly one of the matches I was looking most forward to, and I think it really delivered. They got Dom involved like I thought they would. The door swinging open. Which, by the way, I thought they had before the match happened had already announced that he was going to be dangling from the top.
Yeah, that felt very
Yeah.
redundant to me. Rhea getting on the mic, and I didn't get that.
And he acted surprised, like he didn't know that was gonna. I don't know. That part was a little weird, but after they got over that little bump, the match I thought was great. Dominic falling out of the shark cage and dangling by his ankles, and getting smacked up by Rhea, who took her eyes off the ball. That was cool. And then we had a return, who I'm not too familiar with her at all. So I was a little kind of confused at that part of the story and how she fits into all of this. But I was very entertained by the match. Yeah,
I'll
Luke.
chime in. I'll say I am familiar with Raquel Rodriguez, and I was also perplexed as to why she was there. I'll give it a chance, though. Like, it could be cool. Her versus Rhea could be good. She's a good wrestler. She's very strong.
So does she have anything to do with either wrestler?
She was formerly a tag team partner of Liv Morgan back in however long ago, and then she got injured and was gone for a while. But yeah, the two of them haven't been part of a story for
it
probably
felt
over
very
a year.
random to me.
I think I could be wrong, but I think when Raquel got injured, Rhea was the one who wrote her off TV when she was still heel. I could be wrong on that from that standpoint, but
That would make sense.
But I just think, I mean, even so, I actually saw people like kind of theorizing this would happen, like not even just like before the show, but like weeks before in advance, that she'd come back, be a new member of the Judgment Day, which I don't hate her addition at all, and I don't necessarily hate her involvement in the match if you're going to add another person into this faction. And I think you could kind of have something too where it's kind of a similar thing with how it was with Finn and Priest, except this time it's Liv and Raquel. Maybe build her up to that point. So I'm going to play the wait and see game with that. But in terms of the match, I had a lot of fun with it. I think there were some spots that, again, were a little messy in this one. And then I think also Rhea kind of bailing on the pin when she could have easily beaten Liv just to hit a couple kendo shots to her, I think was just kind of like, in my mind, I was like, well, why don't you go for the pin? It didn't make sense from a writing standpoint, but I didn't hate the match, and I have a feeling they're going to drag this out all the way till next April. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'll give it a 3.3.
Yeah, a little lower for me. I'll go 2.5 or 2 3/4 for me. My favorite part of the match was Liv and Dom's entrance. That's where my interest peaked for me. So, not the best. I think Liv and Rhea have had much better work in the past.
I didn't give it a rating, but I'd give it a solid 3 out of 5.
Yeah, the match was solid. The finish was a little botched, not a little strange finish there. But overall, I think the match was decent enough. I agree. I'd give it like a 2.75 out of 5. And I am intrigued to see what Raquel does here. I think like from a physical standpoint, she and Rhea will have a great match if they end up going that way. But I don't think this will be the WrestleMania match. I did see a little fan interaction of someone asking Rhea who she wanted her WrestleMania opponent to be. And she was talking how she did not want the Liv storyline to continue that far down the road. And how she was talking about how she really wants to fight Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 41. So what do you guys think about that before we jump into this final match?
Absolutely, I love it. Do it, please.
I don't know if it just... Here's my thing, and we'll get to this whenever we talk about the Crown Jewel, Cody Gunther thing. But I just feel like you don't need to rush to that, especially when they're on two different brands. As good of a match as that would be, potential WrestleMania main event contender, I just think maybe hold off on that. Let Bianca finish her story, no pun intended, with Jade Cargill, Naomi. I don't want to see Rhea and Liv at Mania. I'll make that very clear. But I think maybe don't pull the trigger yet, but that would be a classic. So
yeah, I think eventually, somewhere down the road, we will get that match. I just don't know if it'll be that early because obviously Bianca and Jade, I think, is the match that's already going to be booked there for Mania 41. But anyway, now the main event of Bad Blood. We had Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa representing the Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes and the original Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, in a tag team match. I'm just going to say it was weird to see Roman wrestling face and hyping up the crowd. What are your thoughts on this?
Good match. I thought I picked Jacob and Solo, but I looked at Rippe and I said, who do you think's going to win? The two guys that had a Snickers ad during their entrance or the two guys that got 10-minute entrances with a budget full of pyro each?
Yeah.
So you kind of just knew that Roman and Cody were going to win this one. I love Jimmy's return. I was really excited for that. Good match. I think Punk and Drew should have got the main event. There's a reason they didn't. We'll get to that in a minute. Match quality-wise, it was the second best match on the card. I'll give it a 3.5, 3 3/4. Solid tag match. I loved Cody jumping off the top rope onto the announce table, call back to SummerSlam, giving the salute to Roman. But character-driven wise for me, I expected Roman to like beat up Cody or turn on Cody and just do it himself at some point. Like, I wish he wasn't so buddy with Cody.
You could tell he was holding back from his character. He didn't feel like that bad guy anymore, which was so weird to see.
And he doesn't have to be a bad guy anymore, but I don't want him to go back to the big dog. And I'm not saying we're at the big dog, but I'm scared we might trend that way. So I'm hoping he keeps some of that edge that made him so powerful as the tribal chief.
I don't necessarily see him going back to the big dog, which is obviously a good thing. I think they'll kind of have a more grounded version of this character, and it kind of seems a little different. I wish he hadn't been so quick to help Cody out after the match, and I don't really know how I feel about that whole kind of sequence there outside of the big return, which we'll get to. But just match-wise as a whole, I agree. Second best match on the show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was obviously a slower paced match at the start. That's what you get in these tag team storyline driven matches. But I just thought from the entrances, the presentation, to the close, I thought it was a great match. I'll give it a 3.7-ish, slightly under a 4. It doesn't stack up with the other Bloodline tag team matches we've seen in the past, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it.
And finally, I mean, you guys have been teasing it. The return at the end. The Rock, the final boss, came back at the very end. Music hit. He walks out there, holds up a 1, 2, 3, does the little slit to the throat, and walks back away. What does this mean?
He pinned Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, and he's coming for the title.
Ooh.
And I think I don't get where they're going with this, and it's going to be interesting to see. Now that Rock came back at Bad Blood, I take back my take of saying it's going to be him versus Cody in the main event of WrestleMania 41. I think they do have plans in place to have that match beforehand because he came back so early. But I don't know when. Are you going to throw him in the War Games match? Are you just going to do Rock Cody at Survivor Series and then have like the separate War Games match between OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see. But I'm glad that we got a taste of the final boss again. And now from last Saturday to April 21st, whenever the date is, this WrestleMania storyline for the Bloodline, Cody Rhodes, is now on its full track. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I basically agree with everything Justin just said. That I was going to say all the things he said. So, yeah. That's you hit it on the head for me.
Yeah, The Rock coming back, I got that spoiled for me before because I watched it the day after, so that was a little upsetting. But I actually thought that Jimmy in the bandana was gonna be The Rock, so I was like, oh, I guess like when's he coming back? And then he made his return, 1, 2, 3, with the slit throat. I don't know. It was very fun to see a big return. Got the crowd hyped for sure.
And then the last thing that happened, not on the show, off television, Cody Rhodes going to his tour bus and gets confronted by Kevin Owens. The fans are out there. Fans are witnessing it live. They're recording it, watching. And then he turns heel. He starts beating up Cody Rhodes after the show, just right out there in the parking garage. I love this. I love that they did an off-screen heel turn and are promoting it or showing it on all these different social media platforms to generate buzz. I just thought it was an awesome, new, like very innovative way to show what's going on in the company.
And it doesn't even seem like WWE as a company, it could be viewed as like they weren't really involved in it at all because they're just letting the fans post everything on social media and it catches wildfire from there. And even like the Triple H tweet of like, we've seen the video of Cody and KO backstage and it's being addressed internally. I think that just like adds to the whole story and the world. It's so cool, and I love that they're doing it that way as well.
We're bringing back kayfabe in the big 2024.
Yeah.
It's still real to me.
Yeah, I think it took me a second to sort of grow on this and sleep on it, but I did come around to it. I do like this. It's, again, a new way to sort of turn someone heel and have a development within a storyline, kind of like how Rock's promos on Instagram Live, like right after the show or on the road to WrestleMania on Instagram Reels, like some little new way to do things around the story. So I enjoyed it. I think they'll run an angle where this SmackDown, they'll have a promo, and then KO gets suspended in some way, shape, or form, because we know it won't be Cody versus KO at Crown Jewel. So I think they're going to write him off in some way because of this, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and now that is all the time that we have today. Real quick, Monday Night Raw tonight, we have Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the World Heavyweight Championship and Jey Uso versus Xavier Woods for the Intercontinental Championship, which we will be talking about next Monday right here on Blaze Radio again. I'm your host, Dylan Oliver, joined by my co-hosts, Luc Carter, Rippe Galindo, and Justin LaCertosa. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.